I experienced a consistent and sustained effort by many people within the government.
Tonight, in the long-awaited testimony from the former Minister of Justice and Attorney General, Jody Wilson-Raybould speaks her truth before the Justice Committee. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward.
And I'm Melissa Ridgeon. Bombshell testimony today from former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould before the Justice Committee. She told the committee she sustained, quote, consistent and sustained efforts to politically interfere on SNC-Lavalin by the Prime Minister and his staff.
For more, we're joined now by the host producer of Nation to Nation, Todd Lamarant. Welcome, Todd.
Thank you, Dennis.
Well, this was the moment everyone was waiting for, and she wasted no time.
That's for sure. It was absolutely jaw-dropping here in the office. It basically confirmed a lot of what was in the Globe and Mail article that came out 3 weeks ago now, which now seems like a lifetime ago. And it confirmed that Jody Wilson-Raybould felt there was political interference. She confirmed that it reached into the Prime Minister's office and to Trudeau himself. And the reason to interfere was purely political. It was about saving jobs, not letting SNC-Lavalin move its head office from Montreal to London, and that Trudeau was concerned because he was a member of Parliament himself from Quebec. Here's a key part of Wilson-Raybould's recollections of a September 17th one-on-one meeting with Trudeau.
For a period of approximately 4 months between September and December of 2018, I experienced a consistent and sustained effort by many people within the government to seek to politically interfere in the exercise of prosecutorial discretion in my role as the Attorney General of Canada in an inappropriate effort to secure a deferred prosecution agreement with SNC-Lavalin. These events involved 11 people, excluding myself and my political staff, from the Prime Minister's office, the Privy Council office, and the office of the Minister of Finance. This included in-person conversations, telephone calls, emails, and text messages. There were approximately 10 phone calls and 10 meetings specifically about SNC, and I and/or my staff were a part of these meetings.
So she was naming names. In addition to that timeline that we just heard, she was naming names. Todd, was there a degree of shock about how much information?
I suppose there was quite a degree of shock about how much information.
Okay.
We couldn't believe that she was talking in so much detail, but she kept copious notes, and she says, as she said in testimony, she has a generous memory.
This same day, September 17th, I have my one-on-one meeting with the Prime Minister that I requested a couple of weeks ago. When I walked in, the clerk of the Privy Council was in attendance as well. While the meeting was not about the issue of SNC and DPAs, the Prime Minister raised the issue immediately. The Prime Minister asked me to help out, to find a solution here for SNC, citing that if there is no DPA, there would be many jobs lost and that SNC would move from Montreal. In response, I explained to him the law and what I have the ability to do and not do under the Director of Public Prosecutions Act around issuing directives or assuming conduct of prosecutions. I told him that I had done my due diligence and had made up my mind on SNC and that I was not going to interfere with the decision of the Director. In response, the Prime Minister reiterated his concerns. I then explained how this came about and that I had received a Section 13 note from the DPP earlier in September and that I had considered the matter very closely. I further stated that I was very clear on my role as the Attorney General and that I am not prepared to issue a directive in this case, that it would not be appropriate. The Prime Minister again cited the potential loss of jobs and SNC moving. Then, to my surprise, the clerk started to make the case for the need for a DPA. He said, quote, "There is a board meeting on Thursday, September the 20th, with stockholders," end quote. Quote again, "They will likely be moving to London if this happens, and there is an election in Quebec soon," end quote. At that point, the Prime Minister jumped in, stressing that there is an election in Quebec and that, quote, I am an MP in Quebec, the member for Papineau, end quote. I was quite taken aback. My response, and I vividly remember this as well, was to ask the Prime Minister a direct question while looking him in the eye. I asked, quote, are you politically interfering with my role, my decision as the Attorney General? I would strongly advise against it, end quote. The Prime Minister said, no, 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 we just need to find a solution.
Todd, as we're hearing there, they're talking about the Quebec election. Of course, there's a fall election federally. What type of impact do you see this having on that?
Well, it's hard to say at this time yet, Dennis, but her testimony was just stunning. Like, I absolutely believed what she was talking about, that she was being truthful. And near the end of her 30-minute statement, she talked about how important the rule of law is, because as an Indigenous person, she has witnessed how the rule of law is not respected. Here's some of that testimony.
My understanding of this has been shaped by some lived experiences. I am, of course, a lawyer. I was a prosecutor in the downtown east side of Vancouver. So I come to this view as a trained professional and committed to certain values as key to our system of order. But my understanding of the rule of law has also been shaped by my experiences as an Indigenous person and as an Indigenous leader. The history of Crown Indigenous relations in this country includes a history of the rule of law not being respected. Indeed, one of the main reasons for the urgent need for justice and reconciliation today is that in the history of our country, we have not always upheld foundational values such as the rule of law in relations to Indigenous peoples. And I have seen the negative impacts for freedom, equality, and a just society this can have firsthand. So when I pledged to serve Canadians as your Minister of Justice and Attorney General, I came to it with a deeply ingrained commitment to the rule of law and the importance of acting independently of partisan, political, and narrow interests in all matters.
Todd, so was that Globe and Mail article that kind of blew the lid off all of this, was it correct in saying that this is why she was demoted to Veterans Affairs from the Attorney General's office?
Yeah, Jody Wilson-Raybould admitted that in her testimony is exactly why she believes she was demoted.
Todd, the testimony is still going on right now, but you know, how far do you see this scandal going on for? How long do you think this will stretch out?
Well, I think it'll stretch out for quite a while, which means I won a $10 bet. The pressure on the Prime Minister is just going to be enormous. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when he has to face questions by reporters tomorrow, and if he'll even attend question period. And on Nation to Nation tomorrow, we're going to have our regular panel of MPs, Liberal, Conservative, and NDP, and I can guarantee you this will be the topic of discussion.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Todd. This is crazy times. It's time for us to take a quick break. We will bring you the latest on a group demanding answers for a proposed mine in their territory when we come back.
But first, look at Thursday's weather forecast. Starting on the east coast, -10 with snow for Halifax, sunny skies and 10 below for Fredericton. Snow and -7 for Nain, 0 with snow in Cartwright. -13 for Montreal, -13 for Saguenay and Chibougamau as well. -6 in Sarnia, London and Toronto. -11 in North Bay. 8 below with snow for Thunder Bay, 13 below for Sioux Lookout. -21 under sunny skies for Churchill, 12 below under sunny skies for God's Lake. -13 in Winnipeg and Gimli, -10 for Dauphin. In Saskatchewan, -11 for Regina, -8 under sunny skies in Swift Current, -14 in Uranium City, -13 in Stony Rapids. Welcome back. On Monday, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh won a seat in the House of Commons. Today in Ottawa, he addressed the NDP caucus. Party stalwart Ed Broadbent introduced Singh, and it was all smiles and hugs as he made his way to the podium. Singh tried to rally the troops in the wake of the NDP in what is expected to be a tough election for them. He talked about expanding medication coverage and implementing a green economy. Singh mentioned Indigenous people, but only briefly.
And we can work honestly towards reconciliation with Indigenous peoples.
It's been 4 months since the Greyhound bus lines canceled its service in Manitoba. 4 companies have stepped up to fill the gap, but it's been less than a smooth sailing for one. As Brittany Hobson shows us, recent malfunctions have some concerned over safety.
In the morning when there was light, like you could see your breath.
On Monday evening, Vivian Rabiska boarded a bus in Thompson. She was traveling to the city with her niece for a medical appointment. 2 hours into the trip, she says the heat stopped working.
Everybody was all bundled up and I was trying to share blankets, make sure everybody was warm, and I don't know, I just thought that was total BS.
The group was using Thompson bus lines to make the 10-hour overnight trip to Winnipeg. Halfway through the ride, Rabiska questioned the driver.
I asked him about the heat situation. He said that he doesn't know why it's like that. He said something about the sensors, saying that the sensor said it was warm enough in there, and he couldn't turn up the heat or anything.
Rabiska later learned the front door wouldn't close properly.
The door was partly ajar, open. So we froze all the way in.
Thompson Bus Lines is one of the 4 companies who have filled the gap since Greyhound discontinued service in the province last fall. Nitchissawayachik Cree Nation signed on as a partner in January. Chief Marcel Moody says Rabiska's experience is unacceptable.
I don't like to hear complaints about our businesses, because it affects the bottom line, and it affects, the customer confidence in the businesses we're trying to run. So we're trying our best to address these issues, because our ultimate goal is to provide the best service, for northern people. There's far too long that our people from northern Manitoba, especially our Cree people, have been underserved.
Moody says this is the 4th complaint he's received, and he plans to look at some other options.
One of the things that we're considering is, at least I'm considering as an owner, is maybe we should be getting new buses. If that's what it takes, maybe that's what we need to consider.
Thompson Bus Lines did not respond to multiple interview requests. For now, Rabiska will be using a different bus service. Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A group of environmentalists and members of Hollow Water First Nation are opposing the silica sand project plan for their area. They were at the Manitoba Legislature today demanding answers from the Minister of Sustainable Development. Ashley Branson has more.
The group known as What the Frack has repeatedly called on the province of Manitoba. They want to know if a work permit has been issued to Canadian Premium Sand to begin construction for the frack sand mine and processing facility.
We have never received a straight yes or no answer, which is not difficult to do. It's either yes or no, we haven't.
Canadian Premium Sand is spearheading a project called Winnipego Sand. The company is in discussions with Chief and Council about plans to build an industrial plant to extract silica sand from Hollow Water and nearby communities of Seymourville and Manigutagan.
I live there. This is my home. I don't want my home to be bulldozed.
Reg Simard says the proposed mine is 5 to 6 kilometers from his house, and he has concerns about the company's proposal.
They come in and they tell us all the great things about this, all the positive. Now, granted, there is a lot of positive aspects to the project, but at what cost?
His main concern is about the air quality around the communities once this project is approved. APTN requested an interview with the Minister of Sustainable Development, Rochelle Squires, but she was unavailable. However, they sent an email stating the company has submitted an Environmental Act proposal, which the province is currently reviewing. Crown Indigenous consultation has begun. And environmental safety, including health and safety, is a component of the company's Environment Act proposal, which is currently under review. Ashley Branson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
The Bear Clan Patrol is looking for new leadership to take over its Thunder Bay chapter. The group was shut down a little over a week ago after months of complaints. Willow Fiddler brings us an update from Thunder Bay.
Winnipeg-based Bear Clan Patrol Executive Director James Favell says he was recently forced to cut ties with the leadership running the Thunder Bay group.
Our role in the community is very clearly defined. It's one of support and reconciliation. Our platform is never to be used to attack someone. It's never to be used, to antagonize or incite, and that's kind of what we were seeing over there.
Thunder Bay welcomed the Bear Clan Patrol to the city 2 years ago. Anna Betty Achni Paneshkam, who was Deputy Grand Chief of Anishinaabe Nation at the time, felt the Bear Clan could help keep the city safe. Concerns over community safety, especially for Indigenous people, has been ongoing for decades. Dr. Travis Hay is a former volunteer with the Bear Clan Patrol.
And so generally, the work that we did was to simply have a presence in the community and to be there if somebody needed access to services.
Hay says initially people were happy to have the Bear Clan watching out for others, especially around the rivers. The group was even recognized with a Community Safety Award from the city.
And things seemed to be going well at first. They were doing some outside-of-the-box thinking. They were doing patrols on the lake there and on the river and in kayaks and things like that's never been done,
But then Favell says he started getting complaints about the chapter's online presence.
They've been using our platform to incite hatred, cause division, and go after like the police, security guards at the Shoppers Drug Mart and things like that.
But Hay says the city has long been divided and now there's another problem.
And so now at the current time when I look at the rivers and see that they'll be thawing in the next couple of months, my concerns are now that Bear Clan Patrol is no longer operating, at least under that title. What is being done in the city to make sure that when those rivers thaw, we have our ducks in a row, so to speak?
While Thunder Bay Police have done their own patrols of the rivers, Hay said it's important to have grassroots groups like the Bear Clan watching out as well.
That while increasing police patrols around the river may be effective, there are certain people who will very understandably hide from police around those areas, making it extremely necessary to have non-police patrols around the rivers.
A new Facebook page for the Thunder Bay Bear Clan is currently being administered by Favell until new leadership is established. Willow Fiddler, APTN National News, Thunder Bay.
We put land acknowledgements in focus today. Is there substance to them or are they just empty words? We have highlights from today's show coming up.
But before that, here's the rest of Thursday's weather forecast. Picking back up in northern Alberta, -8 for high level and Fort McMurray with snow. -5 under sunny skies in Medicine Hat. 7 below for Lethbridge. +4 in Victoria, showers, and +5 for Tofino. -3 and sunny in Fort Nelson. -4 under sunny skies for Prince George. -16 in Old Crow. 5 below in Rock River. -4 for Whitehorse. -2 and sunny for Fort Liard and Trout Lake. 15 below in Yellowknife. -23 for Sax Harbor. 17 below in Colville Lake. -29 in Baker Lake and Chesterfield. 32 below with snow for Cambridge Bay. -30 in Resolute.
Welcome back. Earlier today on In Focus, we discussed land acknowledgements. While many feel that they're empty gestures, others are working hard to make meaningful acknowledgements and to help others learn about treaties and the history of the land. Here's some highlights.
People were asking us, I want to acknowledge the land, I just don't know how. So it's giving them language, but it's not meant to be set language. It's to be able to be fluid enough that it resonates within yourself. So when you're saying it, that it's not just words you're reading from a script, but that it comes more from the heart. So when we gave diverse statements, that was the intention of what resonates most with you, and what does this look like, right? We don't want people just to read from a script and say, and da-da-da-da-da. It's more meaningful than that, right? It's not checking the boxes, it's more than that.
I think that it is part of already ongoing reconciliation pieces that we do within our schools, within our division, and within our community, and will continue to grow as more pieces. So a lot of that has to do with, really consciously ensuring that the proper and correct history is taught to our children so that they can be a part of reconciliation. In addition to the acknowledgement, we also have a sign in our school that says we're proud to be part of Treaty 1 land. So, that acknowledgement that we are all treaty people and teaching that concept to children as well.
Part of the work that we do is in the teachers in the classroom themselves, how they talk about the treaties and how that is formed in their own classroom. Many classrooms, they form their own classroom treaties, and how that, and that can be different for every classroom that we have. But the idea is that when we acknowledge the land, we acknowledge the people, the stories behind that are the things that we try and explore. And it doesn't just happen in one day, it happens throughout the year.
Well, you may have noticed a lot of jigging on your social media feeds lately. A number of videos have been viewed tens of thousands of times of people, including chiefs in Saskatchewan, doing the jig on ice roads. Here is the chief and a councillor from Hatchet Lake accepting the ice road jigging challenge. They jigged on the Wollaston Lake ice road in northern Saskatchewan and issued the challenge to other leaders with the Prince Albert Grand Council and the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations. FSIN Chief Bobby Cameron took them up on that challenge at Witchikin Lake.
It's minus 40 today, but that doesn't matter. We First Nations can tough it out. This is what we were born to do, survive in the cold. And jigging was part of the lifestyle. So challenge accepted.
And that was just a small sample of the many videos that are out there.
There's a lot, and they're so good. And you can't have too much jigging.
No. We've had a great deal of jigging this week on the show, thankfully.
Not nearly enough.
My favorite part of all those videos is that there's just jigging music on the ready.
They
just pull over on the side of the ice road, play the music, and they're off.
That's our peeps.
Well, that's your APTN National News for this Wednesday. For much more, including the latest on the Jody Wilson-Raybould testimony, head over to our website, aptnnews.ca.
That's also where you can catch the entire episode of today's In Focus on land acknowledgements. I'm Melissa Ridgen.
And I'm Dennis Ward. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.